Hi everybody, thank you for coming and thank you for visiting this conference. My name is Denis Dybsky, I'm Marketing Director at Teslasuit, and I will tell you today about the future of games. Well, before we start about the future, let's look at what we have today. So what are the trends? Games are the most popular way of having your leisure time. Why is that? Games can be played, so we can share games, we can do a snapshot, we can stream live gaming videos, and you can attract attention to yourself as a gamer and become a popular streamer or a YouTuber or a popular poster at Twitch. So the next point is that gaming companies are becoming global entertainment companies. That means that major companies are aware that they cannot just develop games but also monetize the content they are producing, give the opportunity to users to create this content and raise and attract more users so that the portfolio of their clients, of their customers, become bigger. The next point is that mobile gaming is prepared for a new innovation wave. First of all, it is more about current smartphone producers that are already embarking this new step to support AR, VR engines and also integrate curved display support and other features. There is another trend. The interest of China to the gaming industry is increasing every month. You know, the Tencent company, which which earned $10 billion of profit in mobile segment only. And we also see that multiplayers are becoming common. So before that, we had more single players or PvE, PvP games. Nowadays, the majority of games are multiplayer games or have this support. They are online MMOs. Speaking further, let's look at the market. There are some key trends, some key areas in the market, which are esports, cybersport, mobile gaming, as well as consoles and personal computer or browser games. Let's look at each of the areas and talk some figures. Let's talk some figures, but we need these figures to understand the industry. So esport is growing 41% per year, $1.5 billion by 2020, which this will be the market size for that segment. Mobile is growing 14% a year, reaching 40% and reaching 40% of the industry by 2020. PC and browser games are diminishing their volume, and the same will happen to consoles. They will lose 4% in 2 years until 2020. Esport is growing 41%, and in 2016 the growth of the market and the size of the market was 500 million. In 2017 it will be 700 million and about 400 million of audience. For esports, the key events are international events, international cyber sport competitions, CS:GO, League of Legends, and other titles. The key content is offline content, which helps users watch streaming in big halls, and it can also be streamed to YouTube, to Twitch, and on other platforms. The periphery, meaning the devices we need a mouse, a personal computer, and a network to stream data. Mobile gaming. In mobile gaming, we have smartphones and tablets. The industry is also growing. There are key players in the market, which you know all of them very well. The content is diverse. There is multi-user content, PvP, PvE modes, and other content. Regarding periphery and needed devices, so to play these games you need a mobile phone, a tablet or a mobile console, as well as dedicated joysticks, including mobile consoles such as Nintendo Switch. Regarding consoles, the industry is shrinking a bit. The key players are Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. The content which is available is quite diverse. It involves multiplayers, single players, special rigs, and VR. Connecting PlayStation VR is possible to VR Pro so that everything works properly. PC and browser games. The industry is also shrinking and will be shrinking by 2020. The key players in the market are Riot Games, Blizzard, and Valve. There are some other titles as well. The content is the same, basically, but the amount of this content is times higher. The periphery is also standard, and there is also a VR dimension, AR, VR, Oculus, Vive, PSVR, mobile headsets, for example, Gear VR and others. Now, these are the key figures and some statistics. Now let's switch to a better content, a more interesting content. So what can we expect further as we move forward tomorrow? First of all, cloud streaming. One of the previous speakers in a different hall was talking about the cloud streaming solution, and he told us that it was a hype topic actually, but actually it is just emerging. The key areas is game as a service. This segment is being formed at the moment, and the current situation, interestingly, is that to be able to play the cloud streaming, you need a client installed to your hardware or to your laptop, and this client requires a dedicated video card, GPU, and other hardware components which need to be suitable. Capacity is growing, hardware is growing, and the prices are going up as well. Some can say prices are not going up, but if we look at it from another side, they are really becoming higher. As for cloud streaming, a perfect option of using cloud streaming for gaming, so we need for that a server-based game, a server-based title which can be launched. All the processing, all the files processing is done in the cloud. It's been streamed down to a user device, and also has a very high bitrate with a minimum delay of 1 to 3 milliseconds. Naturally, such delay can be provided only through 5G. Let's look at what 5G networks are. In June 2017, there was the delay record at 5.5 milliseconds, which is a breakthrough because people can play games and your eyes can perceive delays up to 12 to 20 milliseconds. This is quite possible. One of the requirements for 5G is that simultaneously it can connect at least 100,000 users. So comparing 4G and 5G, so 4G will be really obsolete when we phase out, when we will have 5G. So it's like switching from natural economy to capitalist economy. We expect that 5G will be launched by 2020, and it will be a commercial launch, not just testing, because testing has been done for quite a bit of time. Megaphone performed first 5G test in Russia in 2015, and there were serious speeds that have been reached. 5G activates, and it will enable tactile haptic internet. we will be able to perform any action and do anything through the network without any delay. We will be able to shake hands, to sit together somewhere, and to do other things. We will have streaming with no delay, or there will be no visible delay for users. VR and AR gaming will reach new levels because there one of the key topics is the delay. And also one more application, which is telemedicine, Industry 4.0, and drive and and driverless cars. Biometry is another application, is another area. First of all, let's understand what kind of biometry, what actually biometry can bring into games. Let's say you're playing a game. It can be a linear game, or it can be an open world title, and you would want to have some continuous interactive inside the game, to be always connected to the game and to get some satisfaction from it. For the game to be able to understand what kind of unstandard, non-standard situations to offer users, you can use biometry for that. That means you can track indicators such as heartbeat. You can track his vision, his electric skin sensing activity, which is easily tracked. You can track his facial expression. You can track his electric encephalographic data to understand brain activity. And it's also possible to do further. So these are the key indicators you can track. By combining them, you can connect some other tools I will be talking a bit later, and you can automatically generate content that will help you to always be tense, to always be dynamic, and this experience can also be personalized because the game will know what are your feelings in a particular situation, what's your concentration rate. It will know when you're afraid of something, etc. The next point is the emotion-aware gaming, which we call it, as we call it. It is related to biometry, and this is what actually will help game designers to plunge into the psychology of users and understand their psychological state and have a better dynamic situations inside the games. What kind of things we can track? We can track eye activity, electric activity of the skin, facial expression, and that's it, basically. Now, I think that this is something that is challenging, and we need to have very profound algorithm um, to process this information. And of course, it's not possible to think this up automatically to be able to process millions of variants. For that, we have the artificial intelligence. One of the most hype topics, AR, ARKit, AirCore are of course the hype topics, but the AI is also a buzzword for today.
Well, first of all, I'm going to talk about the very technical things. So only content designers can design, but can understand. But it's finding the right ways in the games itself, procedural generation of content, of what I just mentioned, neuroevolution of characters. It's when a character, a non-game, not a person, adapts to the style of the character and start to playing in the same way and giving additional difficulty. Also, skeleton animation. There's a trouble that I'm sure game designers know when AI can tell you, help recreate the characters of bots and modes so they move naturally. Because you notice when you shoot somebody, it flies away and the bones shooting everywhere. The head falls away unnaturally. So AI can help resolving that. And dynamic gaming balancing. Naturally, this is a problem that's most notable in the games, in racing and all sorts of, like car race, because there's oftentimes a problem when your opponent is too smart. If you pass him, he's gonna catch up and pass you in some seconds, even though it seems like, he was far apart. AI would make sure that there's a balance between these boats and other players and you. Now here comes the most hyped topic in 2016, even more than now. It's VR, AR, and MR as a mixed reality. So VR gives you a new level of immersion. Currently, where we stand. By the way, raise your hand. Who used VR out of you? Who played the VR games? Plenty. I'm sure you felt a problem with the fact that you see a picture. You hear it, you hear the sounds, but you're not feeling what's happening. So you're thinking that around you have a completely different environment. You see one thing, you feel a different thing. And the VR with additional devices can help you to experience a more fuller immersion that I'm going to tell you about later. When it comes to augmented reality, it's a new format for games and business applications. There's also mixed reality, which is slightly more complicated. When headsets from different companies came to the market, when it's not just mixed reality, just regular VR, but if it's done in a classical form, like it's understood in the scientific publications and how developers understand it, it's a new format for entertainment and art and business. So all of these VR, AR, MR, and those X realities, it's a new medium. It's a new type of technology that it appears that, just starting to fire up. But it was born a while back in the 1930s when the first stereoscopic displays came around, or maybe even earlier than that. But in 1985, from 1980 to 1985, NASA was developing a helmet that at the time was a very serious thing, and it appeared that, after that it was just going to take off, it's going to boom. But no, 1990s it sort of went up a little bit, but then a pause all the way until the 2010s. And now all of these realities, they're trying to raise the border between the digital and the real world. Next is wearable computing. I'm sure everyone has a smartphone, and maybe two, plus an old phone. Someone has super brand new phones, like you have iPhone 8. No, they're not out yet. Okay, never mind. And a great spectrum of devices there with you at all times. You keep wearing them. The iWatches, other portable watches. And all of these devices can be either used with one hand or with two, but ideally it's hands-free. It's when a device, when an Apple Watch send you a signal, and you pay attention. The proactive notification. And the same devices, they have sensor functions, so they let the user know, yeah, something came here, there's some minimal vibration there, and this vibration again can be tuned depending on how do you want to get those notifications, like important ones. You know, there's more serious vibration, small ones maybe they just don't bother you altogether. They work at all times, they're always accessible, always charged, and small devices hold, you know, 1 day to maybe a couple weeks. And of course, they carry additional value. The next interesting moment that nobody's talking about is the so-called convergence and cross-platform approach. Imagine you have a number of devices, a laptop, a desktop, a phone, a tablet, and you have to switch between devices to do different tasks. Even though the contemporary phones and tablets, they can let you, like, you know, run office devices on phones, but the more serious games you can run them on a phone or on a tablet. But now imagine you're launching a game on your laptop, then your mom came and said, hey, I need to work, but you want to continue with the game, and then cross-platform approach here, the way we understand it, or the majority of developers understand it, is that you pause the game over there, go to another computer, and pick up where you last stopped, or on the phone, depending on how cloud streaming is going to develop and how strong and fast the chips are going to be. When talking about convergence, here it's another very interesting task. It's the merger of technologies. When digital and offline, they merge into one. Which means it's like you're a famous blogger, you stream gamers, you create content, you pour it up on YouTube, they see you, they watch you, but then you realize it's not very interesting. I'm gonna go to the international and pay a lot of money, see how a couple teams are, you know, cramming it at each other in Dota. So this process of this merger is the conversion. This is what the gaming industry is headed towards. And then one of the most interesting elements is tactile feedback in games. So what does it mean? If you're playing CSGO, if usually, you know, it flies into your head, but like, let's say it flies into your body, you can feel that. You can feel it in such a way that you soon are going to develop, you know, agility to become more maneuverable and click better. Tactile feedback involves one of the major human senses, touch. Provides you with a new level of immersion. So having felt everything that happens in the game, you're not gonna notice what's happening around you in the real world. Again, mom's gonna come in and say, hey, give me your laptop. You're not gonna hear that. You're not even gonna feel how she's touching you, but you touched it in Skyrim. Somebody shot an arrow you and it's, you know, in your knee or something. Tactile feedback takes care of seasickness. I'm sure you felt some desire, you know. So why is it happening? You see one picture, you hear one sound that your brain thinks, you know, it's been cheated, and you start feeling awful, and you can lose it. Naturally, everyone feels it differently. Another interesting moment is that tactile feedback can give a huge push towards the paradigm of the tactile internet. I mentioned it earlier that all of the meetings, all of the communications will be done online, being far, far away from each other and not feeling that you're actually far apart. You can, say hello to a friend, sit down next to a girl, anything. And of course, tactile feedback gives you puts in a new stack for wearable computing and for smart clothing. So what's smart clothing? It's clothing that's packed with sensors and different data readers. Regular clothing where it has everything built inside into it. They are energy efficient and they let you feel like you're a Superman. All of these technologies, everything I told you about in the second part of my speech. In the Teslasuit, we're thinking about it. And now we're trying to put it together in one place. I brought Teslasuit, I brought it on me. I am wearing it right now. It's a suit with support of tactile feedback. It's smart clothing of sorts that works on the electrical stimulation. Currently, it's scientifically proven that the electrostimulation is the most practical and the most convenient way of emulating emotion in a gaming ambiance and transferring it to a human body. Here we also included motion capture system. You see there's modules here. They're responsible to track my movements, my arms, my body. Generally, this is clothing that covers you fully. In the future, we're planning on making gloves. We have a proof of concept and a prototype, pre-prototype. We built in temperature control into the suit that's gonna allow you to feel comfortably in the game for a few hours and not just keep sweating for hours and take it off. No, I don't want this. Temperature control allows you cool down and heighten their body temperature depending on the conditions. Feel explosions, feel the hot burning sun, and simulate that you're somewhere in the game where it's really cold. Next thing we're planning very soon, it's going to be ready in 4 months, is the full biometry of human body. So all the indices I was talking about, the cardiogram, humidity, the electrical activity of your skin. In order to feel all of that and produce all of that, we're going to hook up neuron networks, but we're still missing a data set. So a set of information that can be processed. A bit further, we're going to bring in a positioning system so that the game and everything where the suit is integrated will understand where the user is in regards to space and in regards to body, where they are, in which spot are they. And as you see, this suit is fully wireless. My colleague Dmitry can demonstrate after my speech more particulars. Some of you may have seen it, some of you may have tried it on. I can't really see from here, I have bad vision, but maybe there's people who already tested the suit fully. We're planning on hooking up to 5G networks and cloud streaming. So right now we're working on full force with the 5G university in Surrey, in Britain, and take part in the development of the protocol for streaming on virtual reality. In regards to cloud streaming, I can tell you that we've already communicated with some big companies that make hardware, they make servers, and they can find solutions to processing of big data and streaming that through 5G networks. Yeah. Many are asking how are we connected to Tesla Motors. We're not. And I believe this illustrates the state of charging of Tesla Motors and ours. The suit itself, of course, is wearable technology. You put it on very easily, zip it, unzip it, just like normal clothes. Setup takes less than a minute and a half. And if you're real fast, you can probably put it on quicker. That's about it. I would appreciate your feedback.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. I personally think that this entire story with virtual reality, Counter-Strike, if you don't run yourself, it's not the same. The feelings are not the same. So what is your view of the future to be plunged in this world so that you move? Because in a room you cannot just run in one corridor because you will hit the wall. It's a good question, and I often hear it. We've talked with treadmill producers who can help you walk in VR. It's a platform that holds your body, and there is a slab that holds your equipment. So the equipment itself is spheric, and you can walk inside. This solution is not quite practical. The second point of overcoming movement problem at VR is teleportation, but of course using one hand to teleport at Counter-Strike is not possible. We can create a big hangar with limited to physical spaces. You know the approximate size of a map. We can hang some optics. So depending on who will be the organizer, the quality of optics will depend on that. The optics is tracking the gamer position, the player position, and there is very precise solutions for optics like OptiTrack. In principle, it will be possible to approach a person, and you will not have to go through the VR to approach this person. You will approach him in the real world, and there will be a collision, and it will lead to the effect of a physical approaching to a person. If he wants to hit you, to stab you with a knife, then it will happen. So the position will be tracked by the optics. So such an option, such a scenario is also possible. So this is actually the most suitable way to address this room scale problem. I do not see further variants. There is mobile room scale, for example, and some guys in Russia are already developing this solution, and in foreign countries as well. But I think this is what I've just described. I think this is the more sustainable option. No, I don't think so. We have some partners, of course, globally, but I cannot say for the entire world. There are some projects probably somewhere, but our partners that we have can help us install encephalographers, and they help track brain activity and operate the game. The game is about fetching people out of the bus which is hanging above which are hanging above the river. We can tell you more about the most profound level of connecting to the brain. It is also possible, but it's not the topic of our presentation. You have been talking a lot about collecting big biometric data. What about privacy in this regard? Well, privacy is an important topic, is an important issue, and of course, before we use and before humans start using these suits, it will need to be certified and tailored to international norms and standards. We will need to set up treaties and agreements, user agreements, which will enshrine some principles on using devices. These questions, these matters have been discussed for quite a bit of time. The privacy policy will be elaborated and it will be available to users. Users will have a chance to reject buying the device or will not have to buy this technology. If users understand they need biometry just for user experience, they will need to sign these agreements. My question was a bit different. I wanted to know if the user agreed to all your privacy terms, if there is a bad guy who wants to connect to your suit and track your indicators, he cannot actually. I can tell you why it's possible while you're telling that it's not possible. We can discuss it. Well, why not? I can track all the data which he needs, and they can be part of a malicious activity. There are technologies that can react to sweating, for example, or to current conducting elements of the skin. So these elements can give access to some other equipment needed by crooks. So using your suit, it will be possible. So the question basically is whether you have some safety mechanism, safety framework, so that to prevent such situations. For Face ID, Apple is not denying that Face ID is breakable, but the chance is 1 to million. What about your chances? Well, I'll tell you about the safety, the security system we have in our suits. First of all, we are working with the coolest white hacker. He's a top 3 white hacker. He has 4 bestsellers at Amazon. First of all, hardware security. At security hardware level, all elements that operate data are blocked. So you mentioned straight away to connect to the suit directly using the hardware, even if it has such an access. If you perform the reverse engineering of the suit where worn by a person, it will take huge time. Even if the crook is able to do it fast. At software level, we have another security mechanism that will prevent him from decoding these data, because they all are encrypted. So the fourth point is any device can be broken. Any device can be backdoored. It is possible. Any corporation, regardless of the capabilities of their specialists, can be subtracked and backdoored. So coming back to your question, if we track biometric data of a person, and if we want to operate these data, so regarding managing these data, this is one of the functionality we were thinking about. This is just one person data set, so you track his data just to one person. So to have a big data available to you, you will need to backdoor the entire system. So the cases we had with Sony and others. So was it sufficient? Was it a sufficient reply? Well, if it's a partly good reply to you, we can talk about it further. Thank you, first of all, for your wonderful presentation in Russian. And thank you for your contribution. So a technical question: how you regulate and how to adjust temperature inside the suit, and is it washable actually? Can we wash this suit? Good question. To the first question, in the first iteration, and so in dozens of iterations which we have produced and didn't show to anyone, we used the standard technology of temperature variability. We arranged with some guys from Korea, and they are producing some cool things, some new innovative technology which we don't know much about, but we saw the tests, we saw the new material, and this new material is flexible electrode which can conduct current, electric current, and these materials can help us to have a better, a more precise temperature growth and adjustments. In the field element, which I've been mentioning, have a specific feature. They cannot track these variance of temperatures very fast. So, and to your second question, yes, we will try to do that very soon. So to be more specific, January next year, we are planning to start shipping first products, first shipments for developers and the stakeholders, the most important stakeholders. We will work with many people. There are many queries, there are many pre-orders we have from many sides, and unfortunately we will need to select those people, those consignees who will receive the shippers, and the massive sales will be launched in June 2018, because we shifted the date several times and many people started actually thinking that we will not be able to do anything. So that's why there is a fixed date for start of sales in June. Yeah, and one more point. Washing. Washing is possible. You can see the modules. The modules are covered with silicone, and this means you can put the suit inside a washing machine. And we're currently testing washings. So in the near 2 weeks, we will be testing in Minsk the washing capabilities, and our engineers will report on the results. I'm getting first results, actually. The suit further will be thinner. All modules and batteries will be covered with fabric, and they will be flexible. And of course, it's a matter of resources and time. Is it heavy? The suit, is it heavy? Well, it's everything is relative. You can try it. You can try it yourself. It's hard to say. No. So my question probably will be removed from recording. The question is related to washing. So we know the popular song, the internet is a song. At GDC this year, and simultaneously with GDC, we had a presentation of dedicated software for virtual reality. So my question will be probably provocative. The question is about thinking of how to deal with this. We will not ask you on how you will be using this suit. It's your problem. So you can use it as you want. We will be prepared. We will be prepared to what you're saying. Well, in terms of safety, in terms of physical safety of people. So what's the capacity of the battery, and so what can I get an electric trauma? Electric shocks are not possible with this suit, and I explain why. Electric stimulation has been used in medicine for a very long time in different variants and options. The stimulation has three indicators and can track three indicators: frequency, amplitude, and the bandwidth, the channel width, the pulse width, so-called pulse width. So by combining these three parameters and tailoring them to human skin parameters, it's possible to prevent further threats like that, and it's possible to transfer a big range of feelings which will be felt differently on each type of the skin. You can shock yourself with electric current. So that was the case with the fat shrinking belts. So in one of the belts like this, I tested it, and there were 50 programs there. There were many settings available. There were minor shocks, minor electric shocks that were applied to your body, and there were different simulations. So the electric current went through your stomach, through your belly. So it's possible to stimulate a lot of feelings, flow of water, and we have a dedicated software for that. This software we can demonstrate after the presentation, and I can show you how it works actually. In this software, it's possible to set up everything individually. There is SDK available. You can download Unity Engine, Unreal Engine, SDK, and you can turn on the settings you want and presets you want to track the activities and to connect the game. Regarding battery, the first prototype that we launched in 2015 was a full-blown suit. So the battery back then could last 4 days of continuous gaming, which involved electric stimulation only. Nowadays, with mock-up and stimulation, so the battery can last, I think, 5,400 milliamperes, 8 hours per day, so 56 hours of gaming. So that's the current capacity of the battery which we can provide. On climate control, which is energy intensive, here we need to test. It consumes a lot of energy and it kills batteries, so the battery could last only for 1 day with the climate change, climate control. So smells at VR. It's one of the key feelings humans have, and to enhance virtual reality we need smell and taste. So there are a couple of devices, a real mask for example, which is probably available for sales. Probably you heard about Nozzles Rift, which is related to South Park and things like that. So we have these devices available in the market, and currently it's possible to use these devices, and our colleagues patented a device that can transmit feelings of smell and even taste. Electric stimulation you're talking about is aimed at tactile feelings, at haptic feelings. So yesterday there was a similar presentation from a colleague, and the speaker there talked about electric stimulation to update and to adjust movements, simulate movements or correct them even. So this was possibly the presentation of my colleague, which is right behind you. Well, will that be the case with your model? And for movement, if people are moving, muscles are active and they have inertia. So would that not lead to some symptoms, some unpleasant symptoms related to movement? It's an interesting question. Electric stimulation. With it is possible to work. There is surface electric stimulation, which is tense stimulation, and and electric muscular stimulation, which stimulates muscles. Tense stimulates skin surface, Using this technology, it's possible to imitate touch or soft touch, to be more precise. Regarding electric stimulation, it's possible to activate and trigger muscles to make them tough and to weaken them. So this is the same we have with these electric wire shrinking belts, and also some suits that are available in sport clubs that can actually raise the efficiency of trainings by 30%. So that is the EMS technique used there. By having a signal sent to the muscle will react. And if you apply a continuous signal, muscle can be working continuously. And the same can be done to any, actually, to any muscles, bigger muscles, including leg muscles, for example. And reply to the second part of your question on application. It's possible to do further research, to perform further surveys and studies, and we've been cooperating with several universities in Singapore and Great Britain. These universities are dealing with electric stimulation of muscles, and one of these projects, one of these matters, actually is related to what was the second part of your question, whether it will affect health. If you're moving and if the game makes the decision to stop you, it is actually not quite possible capture movement, movement capture. It's possible for the game to understand whether you're moving or not. Haptic feedback is not going to activate in this case, so to simulate a muscle, so it has been tested scientifically by one of the German universities. There they told that using EMS it's possible to simulate weight and mass. If the system understands you need to be stopped, it will stop you. It will actually affect your movement. It will the same as with simulating the backlash from a weapon, from a pistol. It's the last question. I think we have the time for the last question. Okay. Sorry, I said I have bad vision. Suit is a good thing. Regarding mimics and emotions, facial expressions, so you cannot wear your suit above the face. So we are not dealing with this problem. We are concentrated on the suit. There are some helmets, for example, FOF, which can track the movement in your eyes. Regarding mimics and expression, it's so we could have an optical solution here, a Kinect camera or something more powerful, which would track your mimics using OpenCV or something like that, or computer vision, or some other technologies that can track your mimics. There is a second option to track your face. You can put markers on your face, which is more professional, which is a more professional level, which cannot be available to many of us. But we can solve this task, we can set this objective and reach it, but we are not dealing with it yet. Regarding temperature responses, no one of us want to catch a cold. So how you can track this activity in the suit? We will have a range of different temperature management solutions. You as a player will have an opportunity to control your temperature, so no one will heat you up or cool you down. Specifically, it will be controlled by your biometry. It will help you understand your temperature, and it will send you notifications and warnings. The speaker is not using the mic. Now, there is this simulation, full-blown simulation, tactile feelings, haptic feelings, hearing and smell, all these feelings and their integration is a very good thing. And it will be interesting to people. People will start loving it. The same was with computer games. People could play for hours, and some people even died of starvation playing games. So probably you need to think of something to limit the number of hours people can play using your suit. Thank you. Understood. Understood. A brief reply. Yes, we've thought about it. The mock-up system can help you track the position of the game. And if you're not moving, it's possible to send a haptic message to say to you that it's enough. Please go and have a walk in the street. Or it's probably a signal to call an ambulance. Thank you.
Друзья, не стесняйтесь подходить к Денису.
You can ask more questions to Denis if you want after the presentation.
We're here with another one of the participants on 4C. Hi, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jean-Philippe Morel from Ubisoft Montreal. I'm working on Rainbow Six Siege.
Very nice. What was your first video game ever? Do you remember it?
Oh my god. I did a port of a very... Oh no, I don't want to talk about it. It was called War Chess. I don't know if anyone knows about it, but it's just a port of a PC game to console game on PS2 like 15 years ago. But my first real game, I would say, was I worked on Prince of Persia, several Prince of Persia at Ubisoft.
That's very nice. What was your first video game that you've played?
Oh, the first that I've played? Oh. On the Atari 260-100. I don't know if I say it correctly in English. It was called Smurf.
That's an old one.
Yeah, it's a real old one. Yeah, it's an old one.
And well, now that the time has passed, what's your favorite video game of all time? Do you have one?
Of all time? Oh my God, that's a good question. I would say I spent a lot of time playing Unreal Tournament a while ago, but yeah, Unreal Tournament.
The very first one?
Yeah, the very first one. Yeah.
Absolutely. What led you to the video game industry? How did you come here?
Oh, it's a technical challenge. The technical challenge is I first wanted to make graphics, but I realized that was not really my thing. I like to build machines, like machines that can scale, that can live for a long time. The technical challenges in video game industry is.
And now that you're in it, what's your favorite thing about the industry? What do you like most about it?
It's the same thing, exactly what I said. It's building machines, building bigger machines, machines that scales. I'm not even that interested in the nature of the game. That may disappoint you, but it's more the machine that I'm building that interests me. And I have a lot of creative people around me to make some good games.
So it's the technical side of things that you're into.
Exactly.
All right. So anything you particularly don't like about the modern state of the industry, maybe?
I worked with really big teams. It's not really that I don't like them, but I prefer some smaller scale team, probably. But that's the first thing that comes to my mind. What else? Oh, that's pretty much what I'm thinking about now.
Fair enough. Let's make some predictions. What do you think will be the new thing, the new big thing, the new trend in the gaming industry in like 10 years' time?
Oh, in 10 years' time? Well, I won't say it's new, but I think there will be more and more games that lives for a very long time, that evolves that over time, and I think that's a trend that will continue over the next years.
Do you think it will be like a breakthrough point through some game, or it's just going to be like a slow progressional evolution into this state?
I think it's going to be a slow evolution, and I think it's going to be a slow evolution mostly because we need to adapt to that kind of mentality in the game industry, and
fair enough. If you had absolute creative freedom, which I don't know, maybe you have, but still, like absolute creative, financial, professional freedom, what game would you like to have made?
I will keep that secret if you don't mind.
We almost had an announcement here.
I have good ideas, but I will keep that for myself.
Okay, but that's a secret then. Is it a secret on what do you think is more important in games, like graphics or gameplay, or maybe the storytelling?
No, I think it's everything is building a community and make it that community grows and grows and grows, and make that community grows over time, and so we can build on that for many years on the same kind of titles.
Okay, great. Let's return to the real world for a second from video games. We're in St. Petersburg. What do you think about the city?
Oh, we had a good time yesterday. I was just trying to find a good place to go, and it's awesome. We had a tour of the whole city. We had a boat trip. It was awesome. It was awesome, really.
Great. What about the event itself for C? I know it just started, but still, any impressions?
Oh, I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see the talk Friday and Saturday. I want to know more about what people think about the future of gaming industry.
Maybe something specific you're looking forward to, some specific speech or lecture?
Yeah, I'm very interested about monetization. How monetization, I told you I like big machines, build big machines, and monetization is something that we need to learn a lot. How it works, how we integrate that to game, and I'd like to see how other developers are doing that. Some massive online infrastructure. Also, I want to see. I want to hear more about that. How people doing that.
If you were interviewing yourself right now instead of me, what would you ask yourself?
At what time is the party? Saturday?
Well, I guess you'll have to answer this question yourself. Either way, I have you have a great time at the party and you have a great time at the event itself. Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you very much.
So we keep catching our speakers in the hallway and putting cameras in front of them. Hi, please introduce yourself.
My name is Samuel Ranteskla. I work for Microsoft as a principal program manager out of Sweden.
Okay, Samuel, so let's talk about games. What's your favorite game?
Well, I wish I played a lot more games than I actually do. So I have to go back into the past. Like one of my really favorite games is Jag the Lions 2 from like 92, 93. I think it was made here in Russia, if I'm not mistaken. Civilization, always been a big fan of that. And then the Enemy Unknown UFO trilogy from the 90s. There's so many games, I mean, it's like impossible to select one. But they're all strategic games, the ones that are my favorite.
Yeah, you're obviously a tactician. That's commendable. But do you remember the very first game you've ever played?
Decathlon, probably on the X86, somewhere around 84.
Wow, that's... I don't even remember that one.
It's like you basically play Decathlon and you just hammer at the keyboard to go faster, like 10 different sports events. Played it like crazy. I was 8 years old then.
Wow. How did you get into the gaming industry?
It was by chance, actually. So I was studying at Uppsala University, doing computer science, and they had this fair where companies were meeting the students. And there was these two guys that they've started a game company in the basement, and they wanted somebody to write a BSP tree, binary space partitioning tree. And I was looking for my thesis, so I figured let's combine those. So I joined them, I wrote my thesis in the games industry, and then from there on kind of like just went on. So this was 2000.
But now in 2017, what's your favorite and least favorite thing about game dev?
I mean, I think the games industry is awesome. Great place to work. There's so much passion. There's skilled, very intelligent people. I think that's my favorite thing. The least favorite thing is that, which I covered in my speech a little bit, I think that we're looking a little bit too much at how do we turn time into money, rather than seeing like how do we educate our kids. I really want to, that's my passion myself, is like take this experience, make our kids better tomorrow than they are today. I'm a parent as well, so that's coming from that.
Well, that's a very noble thing to do.
I don't know if noble, just I think it would be a good thing for us.
Definitely is. About your speech, did you have any interesting questions that maybe stood out?
Yeah, there was some interesting questions, like if we look at mixed reality, what's going to happen with that? What's the dangers with that? I couldn't really answer them because let's see what happens.
But if you were a part of your own audience, what question would you like to ask yourself?
That was a tricky one. Are you sure that you're right?
Are you?
No.
Well, we can be sure 100%, but still, we're trying to foresee the future here. How do you like the conference?
Love it. St. Petersburg, great place. Wargaming, excellent hosts. It's a great place to be. You should come to the next one.
Definitely do. Say, if you had the chance to go back in time to when you just started working in the industry and give yourself one advice, what would it be?
Try one of your ideas out.
That's very good. Thank you very much, Samuel. I hope you like the conference. Thank you.